Hi, welcome to UBeeRadio, the official podcast from Italian Craft Beer Association Unionbirrai. I'm your host, Tony Manzi, and in this program we will talk about the Italian craft beer scene and all about Unionbirrai news and events. Biggest event of all from Unionbirrai is surely Birra dell'anno, the national craft beer contest, open for all Italian microbreweries. Birra dell'anno is the most important and historical craft beer competition in Italy, alive and kicking since 16 years, and has been a real documentation instrument that has measured in time growth and health of the Italian craft beer scene. This year tasting sessions are held in Bologna, the beautiful city in mid-northern Italy in Emilia-Romagna region. If you're not familiar with this city, you have to know that it's famous for typical and historical Italian food. Just mention things like lasagna, tortellini, fettuccini, mortadella, the original of so-called bologna, parmesan and reggiano, so you can now picture it well and start imagining how special and mouth-watering this region is and has ever been. But we will talk about food and beer just a little bit later, okay? Let's get back to Birra dell'anno. In this context, 60 beer judges from Italy and all over the world are called to take 3-day tasting sessions and judge upon almost 2,000 Italian craft beers. The entries are folded into 45 beer categories, from simplest golden ales to more complex Belgian ales and peculiar beer like IGA's Italian grape ales. And that's another topic we will cover in this episode of the podcast. So, UBeeRadio was in Bologna during Birra dell'anno tasting sessions and just met some international beer judges and asked them about this experience.
My name is Derek Walsh. I'm living in the Netherlands. I'm originally from Canada.
In a few words, how can you explain what Birra dell'anno is for you?
For me, it's a chance to get reacquainted with the evolution of Italian brewers and their styles. And every time I come here, I discover new spices, new herbs, new techniques, new styles. They're very, very creative. Most of the beers are not sweet. They're quite spicy, bitter, herbal. And they're experimenting with everything. Fruits, Italian grape ale, reinventing tipo pills. They've had a history of making beers with chestnuts. So those are quite unique for me.
So you have been to Birra dell'anno for a lot of years, and how can you evaluate the evolution of Italian craft beer?
I think it sort of goes a little bit up and down, because there's been the first generation of brewers were trying to prove themselves, so they're making very, very good beers. I think when some brewers, they get really, really well known, they don't really need competitions anymore, so the younger generation comes in again, and you sort of start the cycle all over again. But that said, the creativity is good. Technique is getting better. Every time I come here, it's getting better. And I'm hoping to get some really typical Italian categories. So keep my fingers crossed.
Hi, my name's Paul. I have a company called Ale Hunters based in London. And what I do is I host events involving taking people to breweries in London and iconic historic pubs. Plus I also do tours around the UK, and also I've just recently reintroduced, after COVID, my tours to Belgium, 5-day trips to Belgium. I also do tutored beer tastings and sensory training for breweries and other little things that involve beer.
This is the first time you're at Birra dell'anno, right?
Yes, first time.
Okay, what do you think about it?
It's great. It's a lovely opportunity to come to a beautiful city, meet old beer friends and make new beer friends, and taste some wonderful Italian beer.
In UK, do they know about Italian beers?
Well, I first got into Italian craft beer by coming to Roma every 2 years to watch Wales play Italy in the rugby, and sometimes watch Wales get beat by Italy in the rugby, and witness the growth of Italian craft beer available in bars throughout the city. Also, in West London, there's an Italian craft pub called the Italian Job, and I used to work at Fuller's Brewery, and it was about 10 minutes walk from there. So after work, I'd pop in and have a couple. It was really cool.
Is there something interesting you tasted in these tasting sessions during this time?
The most memorable flight was yesterday, the last flight. We had beers that weren't categorised. Oh. So we had some amazing barrel-aged pastry stout and porter, and a couple of beers that were high alcohol, but were made with botanicals that are used in vermouth. So that was really interesting. I'd not had that before, and they were excellent.
My name is Karel Kins. I'm coming from Belgium every year for Birra dell'anno.
So you're a judge that has been several times here in Birra dell'anno. What can you say about Birra dell'anno? What's your thoughts about Birra dell'anno all in these years?
Well, over the years, I would say the competition has gone from strength to strength. Because originally, I would say the number of beers were rather limited. And now you see a complete expansion, both in the number of beers, the quality of the beers, the beer styles, and the organization has become more professional as well in serving the beers in optimal condition. So it's great to be here. Well, craft beer in Italy has expanded greatly, and what you see is the same as everywhere. You had the good, the bad, the ugly, but also the great. And there's a lot of great beers out there, and I would say especially novelty or in very new things. And typically IGA, the grape ales, that's a specialty category that I love to bits, and that all originated basically, I would say, in Italy. So congratulations to you guys for starting that up. Yeah.
Buongiorno, I'm Tom Carroll. I'm a beer writer and beer historian living in Los Angeles, California, and I try to do as much international beer judging as I can get around. And now that COVID is gone, it's a little easier to do.
So, Birra dell'anno, it's not the first time, you have several times to Birra dell'anno. How's it going so far?
It's great. I'm glad that it's back. I first started judging in 2017, and I've done every year except for 2021 because I guess it was very, very limited and hardly any international judges. So I found out that I really, really missed it. So I was glad to be invited to come back this year.
Before judging in Italy, what did you know about Italian beers?
Oh, it's pretty interesting. I discovered them once at in Los Angeles in like 2008. There was a brewery called BJ's that was they used to do sort of a special beer nights once a month, and they would pick different styles in different countries. And I saw this thing that said Italian craft beer, and I thought, what? Did I read that right? Italian craft beer? Are you kidding me? So I decided I was going to go to it to find out, and it was pretty amazing. I was just knocked out by the flavors, and I thought, this is pretty amazing.
Hi, my name is David Anderson. I'm from the United States in the state of Wisconsin.
Okay, thank you. And I want to ask you, it's not your first time being here in the Birra dell'anno. What do you think about today and how it's going so far?
The event so far has been fun. I love my fellow beer judges. It's great to be back after a couple of years due to COVID, and I'm very honored to be chosen to judge the beers.
Before judging in Birra dell'anno, what did you know about Italian beers?
I knew about Moretti, of course, the big beers. But other than that, I first started when I met Lorenzo back in 2002. It was kind of the start of the Italian craft beer, and I met Ago Stino from Birrifico Italiano way back. I think it was 2003. It had a conference in Rimini. It was part of the beer festival, food festival, and I was chosen. I started a company exporting beers and was able to be on the panel discussing American craft beers. So it was kind of very early in the process. Yeah. So it was, for me, beer is really about education, and for me to be able to be an educator is very honorable and a fun position to be in.
What do you think Americans know about Italian beer? Did they know that craft beer exists at all?
That's a good question. I think there's a small percentage that is aware that there is a growing and ever-increasing Italian craft beer scene, I guess is the best way I can describe it. In my perception, too, is when I first started judging, I think it was 2006 was my first year when it was in Milano. I think there's maybe, I don't know, 200, 300 beers at that time, and that's now 2,000 beers. So there's definitely been, in that time period, a huge increase in the number of breweries, and the quality of the beers has also increased tremendously. I've been impressed with the improvement of the Italian brewers.
Okay, thank you, David, for being with us at UB Radio.
Cheers, thank you.
You are listening to UBeeRadio.
Welcome back to UBeeRadio, the official podcast from Italian Craft Beer Association Unionbirrai. So, I promised to talk about food and beer, and so I want to tell you about a very interesting event that was held here in Bologna the night before tasting session started. An event organized by Unionbirrai Beer Tasters team members. Coming from all over Italy, every one of them brought in Bologna something very special and typical from their region. We're talking about cured meat, salami, cheeses from the Alps, and much, much more. Let's talk about this event with the Unionbirrai Beer Tasters captain team, Alessio Facchini.
Abbiamo sfruttato il fatto che gli Unionbirrai Beer Tasters sono diffusi.
Due to the fact that the members of the UPT Unionbirrai Beer Tasters are spread and located throughout the nation, we wanted to enhance the culinary and gastronomic excellences of each area of Italy. So we asked all our members to bring in Bologna products that are the most representative of their territory and to serve them, explain them, and tell them to the international judges who joined the competition. However, it was a very much appreciated moment by the international judges, also because I think that such a great variety of products united in one place, mainly produced by artisans or produced by the same guys, for example, they are producers of vinegar rather than pork butchers, are an opportunity that is already difficult for Italians to have, and to foreigners it is almost unrepeatable opportunity. However, we are in the Emilia-Romagna region with many local products, and it represents one of the greatest gastronomic excellences of Italy. But as in every area of Italy, it really has a lot to offer to every person who visits it, both from the point of view of typical products on both newer products such as craft beer.
Come può essere una birra artigianale. Qual è stato il feedback che hai ricevuto?
What was the final feedback from the international judges and those who participated in the event?
I giudici sono stati.
The quality of the feedback received from the international judges was very satisfactory. The judges were very happy to taste these products, and one of the nicest things they told us is that many of these products they didn't even know existed, and so it was time for them to discover completely new things.
Anche l'esistenza. E quindi è stato il momento per scoprire cose completamente nuove.
Hi, I'm Tony Manzi and you're listening to UBeeRadio. Let's talk again about Birra dell'anno, the biggest and most important craft beer competition in Italy based on Italian independent craft beer microbreweries. As already said, it's not only about typical craft beer styles. This competition makes it clear on which and how many Italian peculiar craft beer styles are on the scene and how they evolve. One typical Italian craft beer category is the IGA or Italian Grape Ale, a sort of hybrid beer that involves usage of grapes, must, or even young wine. Just imagine hundreds and hundreds of little regions, everyone with their own typical grapevine, used with extraordinary creativity to make. UBeeRadio has invited Unionbirrai beer taster Simone Urras to talk about this special craft beer style. Hi Simone, and welcome to UBeeRadio.
Hi everyone. Hi Tony. Thanks for the invitation. IGA, or Italian Grape Ale in Italian way, are clearly and first of all beers. Their peculiarity is given by the fact that grapes are added to the beer wort during boiling, or during the first fermentation, or pre-fermentation actually, and the grapes are added in different forms. from natural fruit to fresh must, from a sapa, which is cooked must, to fermented must.
Many people ask, is there actually real wine in those beers or what?
No, Italian law does not allow the addition of wine to beer, so IGA doesn't have wine at all.
What makes IGA or IGA beer so interesting?
Well, the IGAs cover a range that goes from refreshing to complex, and also embraces the sour world. Their particularity of this beer is to be found in the balance and harmony that must be created between the base of the beer and the aromatic contribution given by the grape variety chosen for the recipe.
Thank you, Simone, for joining us on UBeeRadio.
Thank you, Tony, and enjoy the Italian grape ale.
So, Italians are all aware of IGAs or Italian grape ale, but what do people know about them outside Italy? I've got the pleasure and the honor of a brief chat with international beer judge and podcaster herself. Check out the program Brujaha, Erlinda Heras.
Hi, I'm Erlinda Heras, from Santa Rosa, California, in the USA, in the beer and wine country in Sonoma County.
Thank you very much for being with us on UBeeRadio. You've been already several times in Birra dell'anno, right? How's it go so far?
Really well. I'm actually just really happy to see everybody again. It's been a long 2 years, it seems like. So the last time I was in Italy was in February 2020. And so I was concerned for everyone here and then the whole world. But so I'm exceptionally happy to be here. The beers have gotten even better, I think, this year. Both from trying them for judging and also, we did a pub crawl in Bologna, and that was really fun. We got to try beers, Amaros and some gins and things as well, all around Bologna. And wherever I go, I always have whatever is local. So whatever is the local traditions, the local products, I try. So I think you guys are getting better and better, and that's actually, saying something, important, considering there's been shipping issues and all over the world. Everybody is having, product and, other kinds of issues, and you guys are just, Italians are resilient, and they know flavor, and they have a great attitude, and it shows in the beer.
Just about the flavor we're talking about. We talk about Italian beers. Do they know Italian beers in America, in California, especially where you are?
Well, of course, everybody knows like the big ones like Peroni and Moretti. But Italian Pilsner is really, really popular right now in California. And so a lot of the smaller breweries, and even some of the bigger breweries, are doing Italian Pilsners. Russian River Brewery, they do a beer called She's So Italian. And I don't remember quite off, but it's made for Natalie. Vinny makes it for his wife, of course, like named after her. She's So Italian. But I think it might even have a little bit of the grape ale in it as well. So the Italian grape ales, IGAs, as you guys call them here, are also something that we don't normally see in the U.S. I've had Portuguese grape ales when I've judged the Iberian Awards in Portugal. But, every year, of course, there's a pretty big category here. And so when I tell people about Italian grape ales, they're like, what? So actually, speaking of, I need to find an Italian grape ale to take home to have on my radio show, Brujaha on KSRO in Santa Rosa. I live about an hour north of San Francisco, very close to Russian River Brewery and Moonlight Brewery. Lagunitas are all there. And so I take whenever I take a trip and for judging, I bring back beers from that region for us to try on the radio and talk to people about. So I need to find an Italian grape ale that's actually that, and also some nocino.
That's right. So we're talking about IGAs. You come from a country, and a specific place of the country where you got a lot of wines too.
Yes.
Are they thinking about, or are they already making beers with wine, musts, grapes, things like that?
Yeah, there actually are quite a few breweries that are doing. They're not calling them Italian Grape Ale, of course, IGA, but I guess we need to come up with a new name for that. Maybe it's CGA, California Grape Ale. But a lot of breweries will use. I'm in wine country and beer country in Sonoma, Napa. So a lot of breweries will use wine barrels, and they'll do more sour beers with that, and like the Brett and things with the wine barrels to get the flavors there. But you see some with must, with the grape must. They're more not the big one breweries, but more of the craft breweries, and also the ones who are more experimental. So I think in California, even in America, I think it's still more an experimental style as the grape ales. But I bet we'll see more, and maybe I can talk to some of my brewer friends, and maybe I'll share a couple of Italian grape ales here from this region, and see what they think.
Okay. Thank you, Erlinda, for being with us on Beer Radio.
Thank you so much. And if anybody wants to catch, I'm going to be talking about the dell'anno judging and Bologna and Italy in general, because this trip I was in Milan, the Tirano region, went to Bormio, where there's the 2026 Olympics downhill skiing is going to be, went to Firenze, Venezia, Venice for the Biennale, the art show, and then of course Bologna. So I'm going to be talking about it on Brouhaha. You can find it on podcast. It's actually a live broadcast radio show, AM and FM. But we have an agency convert it and get rid of the commercials and things on iTunes, Reddit, Spotify, SoundCloud. So you can find us at Brew, BREWHAHA, Craft Beer Radio. And Mark Carpenter, who was the head brewer for Anchor Brewing for 45 years, is my co-host. Nice. So he's always got great things to say.
Okay. Thank you for being with us on Beer Radio.
Thanks, guys. Keep drinking good beers.